Hi, my name is Belinda Matwally, and in this video today we're going to talk about Saturn moving into Pisces and what that means for us in terms of our spirituality and spiritual practices. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad you're here. This channel is everything on spiritual nutrition, how we can nourish our etheric bodies, our subtle bodies, and how we can be the best possible conductor for divine energy. So if that sounds like it's your jam, please subscribe. I also have a free course you can do with the link above. So let's get into today's topic. If you're into astrology, or even if you're not, Saturn moving into Pisces is kind of a big deal. It hasn't been in this sign for quite some time, and it's going to be here for 3 years. So we really have a good chunk of time to work with this opportunity. I always say in astrology, when there is a transit or a different pattern happening, we always have a choice. We have the lower octave and the higher octave. And so it's not that there is anything fixed that's going to happen with Saturn moving into Pisces when it comes to our spirituality. It's more about what opportunities am I going to take rather than what shadow sides am I going to fall into. And a big thing that I think we're going to see is really coming into very grounded spiritual practices. So, the archetype of Saturn is very much kind of like the father, authority figure, very boundaried, putting things into boxes, putting things into order, doing the work, the 10,000 hours mastery kind of concept. So there is no cutting corners. It is all about kind of leaning into that inner authority and putting in the work. Pisces as an archetype, of course, has many different elements to it, but when we kind of really view it from the realms of spirituality, it really is about our spiritual practices, how we want to communicate with the divine within us and around us, other dimensions. It's mystical. It's not something you can put into a box. It's very unlimited. And so it's actually kind of in some ways a strange combination, but in other ways perfect, because, as humans, we have a very physical, limited capacity at times, but we also have the being or the soul, which is unlimited. And our whole life is about how we work with these two things together. So Saturn coming into Pisces, the first thing that really comes to mind for me is about putting in the work for our spiritual practice. I often hear so many people, especially nowadays that spirituality is popular, saying, I want to have these spiritual experiences. I got this download. I got this visualization. It's almost a cool thing to say now. But a lot of people want all those things without necessarily putting in the work. They're not meditating, they're not doing any spiritual practices, they're not doing breath work, they're not doing their inner work, but they want these spiritual kind of downloads or visualizations. And sometimes they do that through either taking certain substances, spiritual or not, but that just kind of take them into another space. So Saturn moving into Pisces, I don't think that's going to gel so much anymore. Superficial spiritual practices, whether it be doing things for Instagram, setting up a beautiful ceremony just so you can take photos so it's on Instagram, all those kinds of things. I think, it's really going to be out. And it is about doing the 10,000 hours, over the next 3 years, which would be, doing the meditation. When we meditate, we're kind of building something inside of us. Saturn is about that building. It's about creating structure. And, I've heard meditation before described as a ladder back to the divine. We all have spontaneous divine experiences. We're all divine, so nobody is questioning that. But the meditation practices is the ladder to kind of be like, okay, every day I'm going to sit and I'm going to build that inner muscle so that those experiences just aren't always spontaneous. So there is a certain consciousness, a certain building that, okay, I do want to connect every day, not just on the, random occasion. So building a spiritual meditation practice, now is the time to do it, really leaning into that every day. As some of you may know, I teach meditation. I'm a huge proponent for learning different different techniques, finding what works for you, and then really building into your inner space. So I cover all of that in my level 1 meditation course. I also really feel that this time is about connecting to our inner space and our intuition. So that is one of the fruits that comes from meditation. And I think as much that we're building outer technology, it's really important that we build our inner technology to balance that out. And this is a really good time. Saturn building, Pisces, spirituality, other dimensions, mystical. This is a really important time to strengthen it because, you know, we're seeing AI, we're seeing all these other amazing advancements. And I think to really use them in a conscious way, we need to make sure we have our inner technology switched on. Saturn and Pisces, let's talk about imagination and manifesting. Manifesting is one of my favorite topics. Pisces is the daydreaming, the fantasy, the ideas. Saturn is putting it into reality. So this is a really good time to actually put your dreams into reality, structure them, put them into the 3D. The shadow side of this, of course, is getting lost in fantasy and lost in daydreams and staying stuck there. We need all of your beautiful dreams and visions to be built on this material plane. So again, the choice is ours. Am I going to build it or am I going to stay in fantasy? And I think, you know, we all want to build our dreams, our collective dreams for everyone in this new earth together. So a really good time to build on dreams. Let's talk about boundaries though, because Saturn is a hard edge. As I said in the beginning, it's about boxes, it's about boundaries. Boundaries are a good thing. When it goes into Pisces, which is watery and mystical and it has no boundaries, some of those boundaries can be softened. So in our personal life, I think this is going to be a time where it's good to see what boundaries are keeping me safe. A boundary doesn't have to be a castle wall that's this thick. It can be a process of osmosis. It's like, you know, what am I letting in? What am I letting out? But if we find that those boundaries are getting too thin or too flexible, we might want to check in with that. The positive side with this is sometimes that the boundary that we perceive between the material world and the mystical, which is our perception, might feel thinner. So people often talk about the veils being thin. So again, I really think that when we're grounded and conscious and doing the inner work, it's going to be so much easier to connect. If we're not doing the inner work, we are more likely to fall into escapism, use of drugs, which aren't helpful, but are getting us into that kind of lost space when we feel like we can't cope with reality. Again, the choice is ours. And on that point, that's what I want to finish with, the transcendence versus escapism. So of course, life on the material plane is difficult. We're here to have those challenges, to mature as human beings and to learn and grow. And when we have challenges, we can use our spirituality to transcend, to actually sit and digest and process, and then allow our higher self to kind of, you know, give us the energy to do that. That is, it's work. It's not always easy sitting with our stuff. The shadow side can be like, oh my God, this is too much. I'm going to escape into the mystical realms of Neptune through drugs and alcohol. So really, we might have some challenging times during this period, and it's our choice. Am I going to use my spirituality to transmute, alchemize, and transcend and reach the states of oneness? Or am I choosing to escape and try to reach the states of oneness in a very unconscious way? So lots of choices here, lots of opportunities. If you do want to learn more about meditation, I've got a ton of resources on my site, and I would love to teach you the spiritual science and mystical art behind it all. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in astrology and meditation and spirituality and psychology, do make sure you subscribe. Thank you.